meeting of the Syracuse Planning Commission. On behalf of the commission members and the staff of the Office of Zoning Administration, welcome and our best wishes for a very happy new year. We are missing one of our members this evening due to illness, but we will proceed regardless with our schedule tonight of public hearings. We will begin these momentarily with just two items to precede that. One is action on our minutes of the last meeting, and so if there's a motion on those minutes, we will entertain that now.
I would move approval of the minutes of December 10th, 2018.
Second.
And discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Our minutes from the last meeting are approved, and we will begin with our public hearings for this evening. For those who are not familiar with our process, as each application is announced from the podium, we ask that the applicant or their representative come forward to the podium, provide your name and address for the record, and then a brief summary of the application involved. Following any questions from the commission members, we will then invite members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application to come forward to do that by providing their name and address and then their comments. And then we will invite members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the application to come forward, doing so by providing their name, address, and comments for the record. And where comments are made in opposition to an application, we will encourage the applicant to return to the podium to address those comments made in opposition. So with that as background for proceeding this evening, Heather, would you please announce our first application?
Thank you. Commission members, good evening. Mr. Kulik, the first public hearing is SR 1901. This is a site plan review for multiple driveways and driveway width. You don't typically, I don't think you've ever seen this before, but it is under the purview of the Planning Commission to review this. 202 Ostrom Avenue is the address. It's Shays Family Limited Partnership is the owner and the applicant, and the property lies within a residential Class B zoning district.
My name is Christian Danaher. I'm an attorney in Syracuse. The address of our law firm is 250 South Clinton Street, Suite 502, Syracuse, New York. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Shays Family Limited Partnership, and we are seeking something unique. And in Part 3, Part C, Section 3, Article 2, Paragraph 1F2, it provides the Commission with the ability to grant a waiver for multiple driveways wider than 12 feet for residential uses other than 1 or 2 family dwellings. The property at 202 and 204 Ostrom is a 3-family house or dwelling and a 4-family dwelling, so it would qualify under that section or purview of the zoning code. This property has been owned by the Shays Family Limited Partnership, or the Shays family, I should say, since 1955. They formerly lived at the 202 Ostrom till about 1960. And they have leased the property since that time. It was originally owned by Dolph and Naomi Shaves. They have since passed away, so we're relying on the children to get the information. But in any event, we believe that the property at 204, it's one tax parcel, but 204 was probably built around the 60s or the 70s. But since then, nothing has changed. It's all remained as it is today, except for there was a variance in 2010 granted by the city ZBA for an overhang over the front entrance to 202 Ostrom. What happened was we were in the course of selling this property and realized in investigating the tax records that the city only showed it as a 2 to 3 family. And we were seeking a certificate of compliance with respect to the property, and unfortunately, we are here where we are today. In order to take the next step, we have to make sure this complies with city zoning or seek the necessary waivers, and that's why we're here tonight. What we've tried to do is lessen the severity of the width of the curb cuts, but also providing the necessary access to the property. So we've provided, because we have 7 dwelling units, we've provided for 7 spaces, one of which is a garage location located within 204. Therefore, you'll see the curb cut is a little wider on the northerly curb cut for this property because it has to provide access to both the garage parking location, which is identified as parking space 3, as well as provide parking for the other 4 spots, 4 through 7, on the proposed site plan. So, and then we have a multiple driveway, another curb cut for 12 feet, which would comply for spaces 1 and 2 on the southerly portion of the premises. But as I denoted earlier, we've indicated where we've tried to remove some tarvia to lessen the curb cuts and try to comply the best we could with also providing access for the property. That's it for right now, unless you have questions.
Okay, let's check and see. Are there questions? Mr. Danaher?
I just want to know if the staff has reviewed this. I'd like to ask if the staff reviewed this and had any comments on it.
This was actually one of our suggestions
Good.
to make the situation, to mitigate the situation. We also consulted with the transportation planner. This was a different configuration as of a week and a half ago.
Right.
But I think the transportation planner agrees this is a safer way to not only come out of the property or leave the property, but it does alleviate a portion of the front yard waiver with respect to where the 4 parking spaces are on the right of the site plan. So, yes, we worked with the applicant to try to lessen the impact as well as lessen the amount and the intensity of the waivers.
Thank you.
And I should add to that, we actually met with the city early in the process, and they did recommend the plan as we resubmitted it. Original, or after we met with them, then talking with the surveyor, he thought maybe it would be difficult to have 7 spaces, but in talking further with the city and my client, we felt that that would fit, so we disagreed with our surveyor. That's where we ended up. Thank you.
Individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium. There appear to be no additional speakers, so we'll declare the hearing closed and move to our next hearing.
The next public hearing is SP 9833M2. This is a second modification to a special permit for a care home. This is at 847 James Street. This proposal is to modify the site plan. Helio Health is the owner and applicant, and the property lies within an office Class A zoning district.
Good evening. My name is Bob Seigert. I'm an architect with Shop for Architects here in Syracuse, 1111 James Street, just up the street from the subject property. Helio Health owns and operates this 26,500 square foot care home at this property, which is approximately 0.84 acres, and it's bounded by James Street, Highland, and East Willow. The initial project was simply to replace deteriorating asphalt, the wearing course, about 17,000 square feet. It's really in need of replacement. But after submitting our application, Jeff Harrop made us aware of the 1998 special permit that was granted by the city and the site plan that goes along with that. And based on that and comments from various city department members, we decided to make modifications to our application. So what you have in front of you there is our revised site plan along with a letter which documents our responses to all of the comments. And I'll just go through very briefly just a summary of what we were able to accomplish there, what we were able to answer, and what is still pending. We added some notes about not for the contractor not to disturb monuments. There's 2 monuments in the sidewalk. We added it, although they're in the sidewalk and we're not touching the sidewalk, so it's unlikely that those will be touched. We eliminated the encroachment on Highland Street. We eliminated 6 parking spaces to do that, which will be a challenge, but the owner is willing to do that, and we're replacing that with 8 to 9 foot wide planting area along Highland Street. And then on East Willow Street, we're actually pulling the parking lot back. It's wide enough there so that we can pull it back and get, again, about an 8 foot, a little over 8 foot planting strip in there, so that on both streets we can get low shrubs in for screening, and we have a buffer zone, a barrier, a green strip, if you will. We added curbing and planting to better screen the dumpsters, which includes replacing some plants, some arborvitaes which have died and some which are not in good condition, but also adding curbing and a planting area just to the north of the dumpsters to better hide those. We showed the existing bike rack. That was one of the comments. There is a bike rack. We didn't know that was going to be an issue, so we didn't show it on the original drawing, but it is there, and so we added that.
Call our attention to where that is, the bike rack.
Sure. It's on the side of the building. It's right down here. There's a patio.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
See that? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a patio and a walkway there, and you see that there's a main entrance down here and a main entrance down here. So that's the best place to do the rack. We also removed the remaining barberry shrubs. There were more in the front in the original application, but Helio Health went through late this year and did some replanting in the front, which I think looks fabulous. Part of that was removing the barberry shrubs that were up there. There's still 9 at the back of the building, and we will pull those out. The things that we were not able to address here, and I talked with Neil Burke, a transportation planner, last week about this. We had occasion to actually send him that drawing, and so that we could talk. And so he agreed that we had resolved all of his issues except for the excessive curb cuts. But I explained to him that in terms of priorities, we thought it was more of a priority to provide the landscaping strip and screening around the parking lots, and that to eliminate any of the existing curb cuts would either cause a more dangerous situation within the lots, or it would remove more parking spaces. And I think he can live with that. He said he was going to revise his notes accordingly. And we did look at the original 1998 site plan that was approved by the city, and that shows all 5 curb cuts. So at least in 1998, the city thought it was okay. The other thing that we need to address is stormwater. There was several comments about that. Not that it was a problem necessarily, but that we need to be able to assure the city, DPW, and engineering department that we are taking care of the stormwater on site. And so we've added some notes there about the stormwater flow. It's fairly obvious to me that we're taking care of all of it in the on the East Willow Street parking lot and the Highland parking lot, if you will, on the side of the building. The small 5-car parking lot off of James Street does not have any on-site stormwater collection. That stormwater appears to flow out onto James Street and down to a catch basin I'm going to say 100 or 200 feet away on our side, the north side of the street. That's, I think, and I have not talked with engineering or DPW yet, but I think what I really want to do is get Vinny Esposito out there and perhaps John and review that and see where their issues are. So that's, to me, that's my feeling, is that's the one thing that we still have to resolve. But I think we've resolved everything else satisfactorily.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the updated plans and the explanation and the responsiveness. One question for staff is their concurrence among the parties about the point at which the overlay takes effect. So it's what's in here consistent with your understanding?
Right, and I don't know, well, let me first start by saying thank you. We are kind of scrambling here to look at these things. Reviewing at the hearing can be a little bit difficult, but I would like to commend you for a very thorough response to every departmental comment. It really makes it easier for all of us, and pointing to which plan it's on also is very helpful. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
The James Street overlay is not until the Business A district way up in Eastwood, so it does not apply here. And I'm not sure if that was just, did we indicate that, or?
No, that Neil Burke had written that as one of his comments, and he and I didn't talk about that specifically, but I did mention it to him. He says, "Oh, okay, he just made a mistake."
Yes, it's not. It does not affect this area.
Right, right.
But there is one small piece along on James Street, that very first parking area. I think that needs screening. That so it'd be 18 feet long.
Okay.
Right here.
Okay, the one off of James Street?
Yeah. So I don't know if that's handy. It looks very wide. So right here, maybe?
I mean, we could do it there.
Even if it's in the...
Yeah, it's on city. It's in the right of way, but yeah, we could do that there. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, so otherwise, I think it...
So the only really outstanding issue then appears to be whatever the runoff is, issue with DPW or engineering to come to agreement on that.
Yes, and that should be addressed during the permitting process.
Yeah, I think, in just talking with them, I can find out where their big concern is, and it may be that front area that flows onto James Street, and we can talk about whether is that a catch basin, is it a dry well, is it okay the way it is? What from an engineering standpoint, what would they like to do?
And if any mitigation results in something that's underground, it's not going to affect the site plan, so it won't affect your review. And as always, our be it further resolved statements at the end of each resolution state that you have to comply with any and all local regulations. So I think that would be appropriate to continue talking.
Sure.
Even if you do make a decision tonight.
Great. Thank you. Further questions? Good. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. No additional speakers. Will declare this hearing closed and move to our next one.
Next public hearing is SP 1901. This is a special permit for indoor recycling center, and this is at 2922 to 2948 East Genesee Street. FBBT US Properties LLC is the owner. Upstate New York Bottle and Can Retrieval Center LLC is the applicant, and this property lies within a business class A zoning district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Baglioli. I'm an attorney for the owner, 570 Delaware Avenue, Buffalo, New York, 14032. With me, I have representatives from the applicant also. I know the board may be familiar with this property. It's located on East Genesee Street. It's improved with a 14,000 plus or minus square foot commercial building. It is occupied 11,000 square feet of it with Dollar General. It maintains a 73 stall parking lot, and it currently has an 1,831 square foot vacancy. Our proposal is to occupy that vacancy with Upstate New York Bottle and Can Retrieval LLC, and we're going to infill that site. We are not going to make any site plan changes. It is simply infilling a vacant tenant space. We are proposing one new building mounted sign that is code compliant under the 40 square feet. We are proposing to reutilize the existing pylon sign. We originally proposed it at about 43 square feet, but we got a comment that it was oversized, so we dropped that down to 40 square feet, so it also complied, so the sign is compliant. The sign currently does exist on the pole. There's nothing in there right now, so we're going to reclad that and reuse it. It is actually a low-intensity use. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., so they're not open late hours, they're not open early in the morning. Everything takes place inside the building. So it's like any other permitted tenant, you wouldn't even know they were there. The maximum number of employees on the premises will be 4 at any one time. All the material will be stored inside the building. When it's time to pick it up, the truck will come to pick it up, they'll bring it out the front door, put it on the truck, and then it'll leave. It'll be picked up on off hours. I did submit a letter with the application that goes through your special permit criteria. I'm not going to read that letter. It does go through, and for all intents and purposes, this has no impact on any abutting properties or any of the other uses. And I did submit a letter addressing all the departmental and staff comments. The main 2 comments had to do with encroachments. A part of the sign encroaches in the right-of-way. We did submit a application to allow that encroachment, and there is currently asphalt that goes into the right-of-way. That's been an existing condition since before we bought the building, and we submitted an encroachment permit. That was legally non-conforming, didn't exist, has been in existence since the building's been built, and we submitted an encroachment permit for that. Besides that, I'll answer any of the questions the board has.
When did the applicant purchase the building?
I've been working for the applicant for 15 years. We've had it since I've been there. Prior to that, I don't know. The owner, that's 15 years, over 15 years we've owned the building.
Okay. Questions for the applicant?
You're relocating the dumpster?
Yes, the dumpster I was there today has already been moved. There's a dumpster corral. We put the dumpster back in the corral. Apparently the dumpster company dropped it in the street because it was easier to pick up. So the minute, we didn't even know it was there till we immediately called them. It's been put back in the corral, and I asked our property manager to watch it so they don't drop it back in front of the building. It was not there. I was there at 4 o'clock today.
Further questions?
Okay.
You said all storage of materials will be interior.
That's true, inside the building.
Appreciate the responsiveness. Appreciate the sign reduction, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes.
And just for the reference, when you describe the corral, is that what's described here as a 6-foot
No, that 6-foot wall is in the back of the site, so if you've been to the site, there's a wall that holds up the site. It dips down underneath, and across the way are some residential property, so there's that 6 to 8 foot wall. There is on the side of the building.
Okay.
In here, there's an area where the dumpsters have been stored, and that's where the corral is.
Okay, thank you.
So the dumpster was, they dumped it on the street. We had to
Right.
move back to where they designed to go.
Okay, thank you. Another question?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. No additional speakers. Will declare this hearing closed and move to our next one. Thank you very much.
The next public hearing is S 1803. This is a street abandonment. This is to abandon a portion of Court Street West. 901 Court Street West is the property, and the City of Syracuse is the owner, and the petitioner is JBD Corporation.
Good evening. My name is Douglas Kane. I'm the Associate General Counsel at Pyramid Management Group. Our address is 4 Clinton Square here in Syracuse, 13202. I'm here on behalf of JPD Corp. The applicant is requesting an abandonment of a small portion of West Court Street located between North Clinton Street and Solar Street. The land is depicted on the aerial that I've presented here as a triangular parcel of land. It's less than 10 acres, and it's on the south side of West Court Street. The land's bounded by West Court Street on the north, and the remaining 2 sides are bounded by land entirely owned by JPD Corp. JPD Corp owns all of the land immediately south of West Court Street, that tax parcel. The triangular portion of the triangular parcel of land that's shown on the aerial, that was at one time owned entirely by JPD Corp. In 2003, in connection with the realignment of West Court Street, the City of Syracuse and JPD Corp entered into an agreement. It was essentially a land swap agreement. The JPD Corp agreed to convey to the city the triangular parcel of land along with the land upon which West Court Street sits today. And the city agreed to transfer to JPD Corp the former West Court Street, as shown on the plan, shown on the aerial, at the time that the realignment was completed. The parties at the time may have thought that the triangular parcel of land was necessary for the realignment and would be used for street purposes. But as you can see from the survey that we submitted and also from this aerial, the parcel sits outside of the street. It's not physically connected at all to the street or the roadbed. It's an unimproved parcel of land, and the landscaping, the concrete walk, and the street lighting are not located on the parcel. JPD Corp is requesting that the city sell us the land, and we would incorporate it into the parcel of land that we own surrounding the subject land, and that would straighten out the jog and the boundary line, better align the property with West Court Street, and it would provide us with some additional flexibility to the extent of any future development.
Yes. Seems straightforward.
Like you remember.
Questions?
Do you have any plans?
We have no development plans.
Just hoping.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. So again, no additional speakers. We'll declare the hearing closed and move to our next hearing. Thank you.
The next public hearing is R 1856. This is a re-subdivision to combine 3 lots into 1 new lot at 301, which includes 303 and 305, Clarendon Street. Miranda Hine is the owner and the applicant, and all the properties lie within a residential Class A1 zoning district.
The applicant is here. Please come forward.
Hi there. My name's Miranda Hine. I live at 301 Clarendon. I didn't realize the easel. This is way too small to put on the easel, but I'll just hold it up for a minute. This is the house. It was the original house up on Clarendon. There was nothing on the hill. There was no road. There were no driveways. Those were the days.
Here was that.
1902. So we bought the house 1982, I think it was, and we have lived there ever since. We knew when we bought it, it didn't have a driveway, and we came from New York City, and we figured, oh, we can handle this, and we have handled it until every year it's gotten worse, and as the single-family homes become homes for students, there's 5 cars in every house. So there's a driveway for 1 or 2, and the rest are on the street. So we are a 1-car family, my husband and I, and always have been. And it has gotten to the point that it just got increasingly more and more difficult. And in the last 4 or 5 years, with SU's expensive parking, staff and faculty use our streets and they could walk in. So if we leave our Sumner, we have to park on Sumner, there's no parking on Clarendon. If we leave ours wherever our spot we parked the night before, after 8 o'clock, we cannot get within 4 or 5 blocks of our house to park. So we have to walk in. So it's become a huge imposition, and we're all getting older and older, and we're not as fit as we were. It's not going to help with climbing the stairs to the house, because we're still going to have to do that, but just getting the car off the road. The other issue that's really a problem is games. When there's SU ball games, we literally have to plan our events around games because, again, we can't get close to our house. And cars have hit our car probably 6 times at least and not left notes. And so the car is just out there unless we want to sit and watch it all day. So it's just become a real headache. We have wonderful neighbors who let us park when we need it. If they've got a spot, so we call around and say, can we come into your parking lot? So the house was on 3 lots, and I didn't realize until I started this process, which has been like an eye-opener, that 2 of the lots had been combined, and there was 1 lot south of us, which is the most feasible one for the driveway. If we'd gone up higher, there's an electrical pole, and we were told that that would just cause too much problems, and the visibility coming out, because we're right at the crest of the hill, would be absolutely dangerous. So the only viable spot is the southern spot, and that's just a single lot, and I was told that you can't put a driveway on there because it's just, there's no house on it. So that's the reason for combining it, and I think that's all I have to say. Oh, and the other thing is, I'm an avid gardener, so once it's in, it won't look like most driveways, hopefully, and we'll really try and make it look like it should look.
Thank you very much. Are there questions for the applicant?
No, thank you.
Seems straightforward. Thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? If so, come to the podium, please. So we have no additional speakers. We'll declare the hearing closed. Thank you very much. Great photo. Can I see it up? Yeah, wow. Whoops.
Way up at the top.
Yeah, that is from a different era.
Right.
Wind blown.
And Ms. Hine, I would just encourage you to, make an appointment and come into our office so that we can try to work with you on an appropriate driveway, where it can be and how wide it can be, how long it can be, etc. Because depending on the results of that, it might need to go to another
You can
board.
submit drawings from Greenscapes on that.
To permits or Okay, so,
Actually, I have a permit, because I got the permit, and then this, so,
okay,
yeah. So
Okay,
there should be a drawings if you'd like, yeah,
Okay.
look at it, it's there.
all right, so, yes, so we didn't get that from permits, but I'll look into it.
Okay,
Yep,
great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next public hearing is R 1856. This is R 1901. This is also a re-subdivision. And this is to combine two properties into one new lot at 214 to 216 and 216 and a quarter Hunt Avenue. The Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation is the owner and applicant, and all properties lie within a residential Class AA zoning district.
Hi, Terry Luckett, representing Greater Syracuse Land Bank at 431 East Fayette Street. The Land Bank demolished a vacant house at 21416 Hunt Ave last summer, and that property has 66 feet of frontage. There's a little orphaned lot next door to it that's only 10 feet wide. We just want to combine the two. We don't have a potential purchaser right now, but we just thought we'd combine it and tidy up the street. And that'll be a 76-foot wide lot. That isn't quite wide enough to have two lots, so we're just combining it as one.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. So no additional speakers. We'll declare the hearing closed and move onward to our next hearing.
So the next hearing, S3S 1901, is a 3-mile limit subdivision review for Green Hills Manor Phase 1. And this is to divide one tax parcel into 4 new lots. It's in the town of Onondaga. Alshar Development LLC is the owner and the applicant. This is being held until further notice. The town of Onondaga has not yet approved the
Okay.
applicant's subdivision, so it
it'd
is
be
inappropriate
premature
to,
for us to consider it.
premature is
Okay.
the right word.
So we have no additional public hearings for this evening, correct?
Right.
So typically we would return to the hearings held tonight to determine if there's sufficient support for approval before we move on to other items of the agenda. But I noticed just one person left in the audience. Do you have something later in the agenda?
I'm just making sure this new business item goes through, but seriously, don't worry about me, do you think?
So,
So-
just quick clarification, I would perhaps ask if anyone is here to speak in favor or against the 3-mile limit, just as normal course of action, because we did publicize it.
Yes.
You never know.
And so, with that in mind, if there is anyone here who would like to speak either in favor of the Town of Onondaga 3-mile limit case that was publicized for this evening, or would like to speak in opposition to that application, please come forward now to offer your comments. And so it appears as though we have no individuals interested in speaking on that case this evening. So I guess we officially close the hearing and await further action by the Town of Onondaga, in which case it'll be re-advertised and people have an opportunity at that point to speak either way on the case. So that closes off the docket of hearings we need to hear tonight. We need to return and review and act upon as many of those as we can. I was just suggesting maybe we look at the new business, since there's only one member of the public here and it's new business, and rather than keep him waiting, we could look at the new business item and then return to the minor modifications and the hearings held this evening. So with that in mind,
Seriously, just keep your agenda going. I'm emailing people. Don't do your thing. Seriously, I'm fine. It's whatever you want.
What's? We don't mind moving new business up. So, Heather, can you give us a summary of what's involved with this new business item?
Can, except I cannot find this page. Oh, 185. Sorry. That's okay. All right, so this is R1664, a time extension request for re-subdivision to combine 4 properties into 1 new lot. The commission approved the re-subdivision on December 19th of 2016, and the applicant's attorney recently realized the Mylar map had not yet been filed at the county clerk's office. So they are requesting a new date of June 1st of 2019 in order to be able to produce and
Complete
file
the
the
filing.
maps.
So a simple time extension to apparently correct an oversight so that that can be filed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That seems straightforward. Are there any questions or clarifications that are needed? Nope. Okay. In that case then, is there a motion to approve this extension until June 1st of this year?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So the time extension is approved. Okay. So with that, you are welcome to stay or you're welcome to move on to something else, but we won't be holding you here in either case. So with that, we can return now to our agenda for action on the hearings we conducted this evening, the first of which is SR-19-01, the site review for the Ostrom Avenue property. And we had a presentation on that, no additional speakers. Are there questions on this one?
Do we need any waivers?
Yes, the multiple driveways and driveways wider than 12 feet.
So that's two, the requested
Yes.
waivers, okay.
So those are the two that were in the, yes, in the report, staff report, okay.
I move approval with a negative declaration and the approval of the 4 requested waivers.
2 requested waivers.
2 waivers?
Yeah.
I thought there was one for each.
Driveway
Okay, 2.
width addresses both, correct? And multiple driveway is 1 way. I think just 2 waivers.
Yeah.
That'll,
Okay,
I see what you're doing, though. You're applying it to each.
yes, I
Yep.
was. Thank you.
and was there a second?
Yes, second.
Discussion? Questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that project site review is approved. We move now to the project on James Street at Highland and Willow and so forth. Hold on just a minute for the number. SP-98-33M2. We received revised plans this evening from the applicant that were extensive revisions in response to the departmental comments. and correct my understanding if it's wrong, but we believe that all of the departmental comments were addressed with the revised plans that we were presented with this evening.
Yes.
Okay. That was a nice point-by-point presentation of the comments. That is helpful.
I believe with the exception of the, I don't know if we call it buffering or screening of the parking area from the street. Let me just double check. Street screening requirement.
Okay.
But he didn't need a waiver. He said he would do that, right?
Yes, however, based on where the parking surface area, based on the extent of that, it's right up to the property line, so effectively it would have to be in the right of way. Unless they
Could
put
you
up
pull
a,
it back? Yeah.
evergreen planting wall or fence at least 5 feet in height. I did hear the applicant say they would plant
Yes.
something there
We did.
Right.
in the right of way.
When he came over to the table,
Yes.
he acknowledged that.
So,
He needs a waiver to plant in the
we're just
right of way.
checking the actual. It looks like there's a grassy area there, so they might be able to plant some plants.
It looks like the parking lot goes up to the property.
Yeah, so they could do that. It still would require a waiver because it's not on private property.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but that would be the mitigation if you want to consider that.
Okay, and otherwise, all the other points have been adequately addressed in this new
It
plan?
appears.
Okay.
I would move approval with a negative declaration, granting the waiver for the street screening or yard screening.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that special permit modification is approved. And now we move to the recycling project, SP-19-01 on East Genesee Street.
Once again, somebody following the rules.
Yes, and again, additional updates tonight. So the signage comes into compliance.
They removed the dumpster. They moved the dumpster to the.
Dumpster's back living where it should. And
What did he say about the asphalt, the excessive asphalt?
I think he alluded to it as being a kind of a pre-existing condition when they bought the property, but he couldn't tell us the time other than it had been more than 15 years ago, or at least 15 years ago. That was my interpretation of his comments.
And the wall turned out to be high enough to act as a screen in the back.
In the back, right, because of the elevation, I think that's what his point was, is that the property, residential property on the other side is much lower, so from their perspective looking up, it's screened, which I guess is the point of the screening, as opposed to from the parking lot to screen the residential area. So I think that's the point that he was making with that, his comments on that. So then the one waiver that was part of this application originally pertain to the signage, and that goes away with the revised plan this evening.
Right.
Okay. Is there a motion on this?
I would move approval with a negative declaration. And thanks for being cooperative and
Yes.
following the rules.
We do like that. Is there a second? Okay, and discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that project is approved. We move to the street abandonment on Court Street, S-18-03. There we go. And this seemed quite straightforward, if old, but was there any additional information available on this or that the commission needs for action?
No, not
Okay. And is there a motion on this one?
I would move approval with a negative declaration.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So the street abandonment is approved. That now moves to the Common Council, is that correct, for further action? Okay. Now that takes us tonight to the re-subdivision on Clarendon Street. Can't get over that photo from really a different era. Wow. They're lucky to have something that documents it going back that far. But anyways, re-subdivision on Clarendon, R-18-56, for the purpose of a driveway to remove the car from the street. Is there a motion on this?
I move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The Clarendon Ave re-subdivision is approved. We move to the re-subdivision on Hunt Avenue, R-19-01. Excuse me. Is there a motion on this?
I would move approval with a negative declaration.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That is approved for Clarendon, Hunt Avenue. We just did Clarendon. And as we discussed earlier, what would have been our 7th case, the 3-mile limit for the Onondaga, is not ready for action by the commission, so that will return at another time after the town has taken action. And we move now to 2 items under our classification of minor modifications. First one on Westcott Street.
Yes, this is SP 9630M3. This is the 3rd modification to a special permit for a restaurant, and this is to modify the building floor plan at 471 to 489 Westcott Street. RJ Westcott Holdings LLC is the owner. Mohammed Solomon is the applicant, and the properties lie within a business class A zoning district. Okay, so all right. The applicant's requesting to modify the floor plan for a special permit to remove a previously approved service store and expand the restaurant's service area. So it does not affect the customer area, but this is to expand the service area of a new restaurant. This only affects a portion of the restaurant which would not require any additional or expanded waivers from the previous restaurant that was there. Although it looks like it's getting bigger, it's not in the area that we count where customers can go. So that's why it's on as a minor modification. The additional uses on site include 2 other restaurants, a dance studio, and 2 retail uses, and a community police station. So.
Okay, so no additional or expanded waivers needed on this one?
There was nothing about signage. Do they intend to come later?
Good
I mean,
question.
I think it's a group sign anyway.
I don't think we received anything about signage. This may have been a result of a permit routing form that we received from the permit office. But one thing we did want to note is that in 1965, there was a variance that acknowledged a parking area. In looking at that site plan, it does not appear that this existing physical condition complies with that. We needed to point that out because if we didn't, then we would be remiss in doing our job. But we will contact code enforcement about that to take a look at the situation. So that's why that's in here as a bullet point.
I move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that is approved. Yeah, those were some old records that go back a little ways that were in the packet. Some good history. That now brings us to our next minor modification item.
Yes, this is a sort of similar situation. SP 7720M3, also a third modification to modify a property that has a restaurant on it. This is to modify the building plan at 3100 James Street. 3100 James Street LLC is the owner and applicant, and the properties lie within a business class A zoning district. The previous information we had received, well, the information that we received verbally did not match a previous approval, so this took a while to sort out with the potential new tenant. So the bottom line is that we need to tell the commission all the uses in the building because they're different now than the original special permit. We now have a restaurant, 2 retail, and 7 dwelling units. So neither of the changes require any new or expanded waivers from the planning commission, so that's why it's a minor modification.
Right.
In this case, there's nothing, unlike the other case we just reviewed, there's nothing there that indicates there's a non-compliance, a non-conformance.
Correct.
Okay.
Perhaps a tenant changed over the years because you did approve an office space instead of retail that is there now. However, the amount of that space is less than 1,000 square feet, so the parking requirement, even though they are different, is not affected in this instance. We don't necessarily know when tenants change. If they don't need a building permit, we would never be alerted to that. The reason this came up is because they needed a certificate of compliance from code enforcement, and we responded back by citing what was in the most recent special permit, which did differ from what was there now. So sometimes these things come about by happenstance, by something that someone needs, and we just are responding via what you had previously approved. So.
Would move approval with a negative declaration.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that modification to the special permit is also approved. Are there other new business items for tonight?
Yes, before you move on to authorizations, I wanted to take a minute to address the lead agency issue regarding the property owned by North Genesee Associates LLC, several properties at the 1200 block of East Genesee Street that was at issue last month. As you know, the 30 days has expired for naming the lead agency, so Heather and I met with the executive director of SIDA as well as Kristen Smith, the corporation counsel, to discuss the lead agency issue, and it was concluded and recommended by Corp Counsel that SIDA handle lead agency. It's concluded that you will still have any discretion to make decisions that are relevant to the proposed project as it comes forward. Yes, and of course any concerns can be brought forth to the lead agency.
Okay. Is that any specific action required of the commission at this time?
I don't believe so, but I do think that it is helpful for if you want to put your consent on the record through a motion, if you consent.
Okay. That does sound like a good idea. Is there a motion to that effect?
Yes, I move that we give our assent to SIDA to be the lead agency on that project.
Okay.
Second.
Discussion. If none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So, record to indicate that. Are there other new business items that we should consider before we look at authorizations for our next meeting?
No, but when you do that, I do need to discuss a couple other applications.
Okay, so at the moment, we've got 4 identified, and we would add how many more and which ones? Do we know yet?
Well, so this relates to what Catherine was just saying. We do have, last time I presented a re-subdivision application to you, and stated that we do have it in the office, but because seeker was not concluded and there were some concerns and outstanding questions, the commission did not authorize the re-subdivision. I believe New Year's Eve or the Friday before, we did receive several applications with respect to the project as a whole. There is one that is not appropriate, but we're not sure which one yet because of the split zoning. 2 different zoning districts, 2 different sets of rules. So Corporation Counsel is still researching what procedure to use for the overall project. So I guess at this point, I think what I would ask, we do have the re-subdivision. They submitted a special permit and a project site review, which it's either one or the other, it's not both, and also a variance very recently. So you had expressed concern previously about looking at the project as a whole, and we had only had the re-subdivision at that point. So in order to avoid segmentation, it might be best to at least get these on an agenda together. And if nothing else, so that we can start to log in the cases and refer them out to the different agencies so that they have time to respond with any of their technical concerns. So it would only be 2 additional. It would be a re-subdivision and either a special permit or a project site review, but my lawyer's still researching that. Like I said, it's complicated because of the different zoning districts and the different rules that go with either of those two procedures.
Sure. So we could authorize the 4 cases that we have known about already up till now, plus the re-subdivision, plus an additional ancillary case pertaining to the re-subdivision, either as a special permit or a site review based on the recommendation of the law department when that review is completed. Can we authorize broadly that way and know that we're not going to have 2 additional cases, but we'll just wait until the law department review is complete?
Yes, and I will just note that given the seeker process, it is possible that these would have to be put on hold.
Okay.
But keeping that in mind, I think that is fine, just knowing that you have 6.
Okay. And it's just a question of what variety is the 6th one. Okay. So is that clear from our standpoint, what we're authorizing for the 2nd January meeting on the 28th? And as we proceed, get closer to that date and the review is completed, it'll be one or the other for that 6th case, if it's going to happen at our next January meeting.
So I would move then, based on our discussion on the record, to approve the authorizations that are described here on our agenda, as well as based on our discussion, the 5th case, and then, as you said, the 6th case, and we'll take that case in whatever manner that's recommended by Corporation Counsel and by our staff.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So we're set for the 28th. Anything else to come before us tonight?
No.
If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Sure you want to draw this out? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? We are adjourned and be back on the 3 weeks on the 28th.